The national president of the Ghana Hotels Association, Edward Aka Nyameke, is demanding government shows more commitment to the reduction of taxes that has riddled the hospitality industry. According to him, the multiplicity of taxes is adversely affecting the tourism sector, resulting in a 2.2% decline in tourists visiting Ghana last year. Mr. Aka Nyameke was speaking at the 4th Ghana Hotels Association Executive Council meeting here in Accra.
We continue to hear, and indeed it's a fact, that hotel rates are quite expensive in Ghana. But you see, when we talk about high hotel rates, we should look at the components that goes into determining those rates. There are quite a number of them, and we believe that there are several of them that you can trace to the doorstep of government. So we are using this theme to draw government attention to the fact that there are a lot of things that they can do to ensure that hotel rates come down. We are talking about taxes. We used to pay this 17.5% VAT on our hotel rates. What it means is that if you are charging, say, 500 Ghana cedis for a hotel, then when you come in, I charge you 17.5% on that 500. So you end up paying more. Okay. Now, we have realized that even the midterm review, the budget review, which reduced the VAT to 12.5, but rather, yes, got the GET fund and then the NHIS to 2.5% fixed, has rather taken that rate even higher. You understand? Now, we also talk about utility bills, like the Deputy Minister mentioned. Water, electricity, they are all quite high. Okay. Now, these are all things that are controlled by the government in a way. We talk about interest rates because hotels invest. And sometimes we need to go to the bank for loans. When you go to the bank, you are charged high interest rates. We are looking for a system where we can have soft loans or even loans but with small interest rates to push the industry, because you see, the hotel industry and indeed tourism is becoming such an important sector in the economy. And if we give it that attention and assist the industry in terms of those incentives and interventions that will reduce the cost, then we can have lower hotel rates. Now, when we have the lower hotel rates, what it means is that when you are in, say, Kyrgyzstan or Atlanta or Russia, and you are thinking of a place to visit in Africa, Ghana will become one of the places you think about, because then you look at the hotel rates and it's comparable to other. But as we speak now, our rates are very high, and so when people are making those decisions to come to Africa, it becomes a problem coming here. Okay.
Deputy Minister for Tourism and Creative Arts, Dr. Ziblemi Idi, also says his ministry will initiate moves to address the concerns raised by the association, but it will take pressure from the group to have them granted. He urged them to walk the corridors of cabinet to drum home their demands.
You inherit taxes. You have to study it and understand why those taxes are there. When we came into the ministry, what hit us was, of course, the multiplicity of taxes on the hotels. And we found out that these taxes, as I indicated, are largely coming from government agencies and departments, the assemblies, the EPA, the fire, and all of that. And to be able to address this, we can't sit at the ministry and just, use a magic wand. You have to visit each and every one of them, sit down with them, and understand why they are imposing charges on the hotels. So we've gone through that exercise. But the bottom line is the Minister for Finance who will come to Parliament and be able to review taxes, coming out with procedures. And so the Minister has taken it up with the Minister of Finance, and hopefully, as we negotiate with them, we'll see how some of these new taxes, I don't want to call them nuisance taxes because they have justified why they are there, but how some of them can be taken off so that it can reduce the burden on the hotels. Of course, government will have to tax people to be able to provide social services. So that's understandable. But you don't want to tax people out of business. I think it was Winston Churchill who said that you can never tax your way out of poverty. If you think that you are taxing your way out of poverty, it's like, standing in a bucket, trying to lift the bucket out of it. It will never happen. So we cannot keep taxing these hotels and think that they can stay in business. But we have to find a common ground. Government needs resources, money, to be able to provide these services that we get. The fire service, they provide service. EPA provides service. GTA, all these agencies that are taxing the hotels, they are providing services. So we have to find a balance of getting reasonable charges that will not run the hotels down, but that will keep them in business so that government will continue to tax them to be able to raise revenue to provide social services.
Well, joining me in the studio to have a conversation on the back of what you've heard, the National President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Aka Nyamike, and the President of the Greater Accra Chapter, Benjamin Afunya. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
So we're talking about hotel rates being high. First of all, do we even know the number of people that visit hotels in Ghana, Mr. President?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. The simplest answer is no.
Why not?
We may gesture some estimates, but to know the exact number will be quite difficult. The reason being that we haven't set up a system that compiles the various visits to the hotels. Each hotel may have the figures, and that can easily be determined by payment of VAT and the other taxes. But a compilation of these visits is difficult. Sometimes we also get information from the ports and the airports and harbors with regards to visits.
In terms of visitors. But we assume that all these people are going to be lodging in hotels.
Exactly. So we can only estimate those figures. And unfortunately, even the GTA doesn't have those figures. So those are one of the things that we continue to talk about, that we need to set up a system. And I remember quite recently, about a year ago, the GTA set up a committee because the satellite account that was supposed to get figures and data for these. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, the committee collapsed, and so we're looking forward to GTA reviving that committee because we want to know. We are right to ask that, yes.
But Mr. Benjamin Afunya, do we know the number of hotels we have in the Greater Accra region?
Currently, it's over 600. From what we have, it's over 600. And, day in, day out, hotels are springing up. Yeah, so it's over 600. Yeah.
And Dr. Nyamike, when we say hotels, would that include the guest house, the motels, or we're only looking at those structures that have hotels at the end of the names that they put out?
The hotel is a generic name for all those aspects that you've mentioned. So we just use the hotel to signify the accommodation.
Okay, so all the other,
all the motels, the lodges, the guest houses, they all come under that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the rates now? You've said in that clip that the rates are high. What are our rates? When you say they're high, who are we comparing our rates with?
Very good. You're so right on that. It's more of a relativity issue and a comparative issue. And it is so because we compare the rates in Ghana with the other West African or African countries. Okay? And that's the basis for seeing the hotel rates in Ghana. But as to whether the rates being charged are deserved by the hoteliers, it's another thing altogether. And recently, at one of our meetings, there was a decision to begin to look at the economic assessment of the hotel business. Is it profitable? Does it really?
Is it?
Yes and no.
Why do we have conflicting response to that?
I would say no. In fact, if you look at certain taxes and levies that regulatory bodies are, imposing on us, I would say imposing because sometimes consultations are not done. They just sit in the offices and then bring some of these things. So I would say no. We're only trying to, because you've established, you just want to make ends meet. So in view of that, it's affecting everything, honestly, everything.
If I walk into a hotel...
Let me put that in context, okay? Like any other business, there are certain factors you consider in establishing the business. You talk about location. You talk about marketing and all those things. Now, we have some hotels that are suitably located and also have been able to put themselves on the global market. Now, these hotels get the patronage. So even though these taxes and the payments may be high, they're able to balance it with high patronage.
Okay.
Now, there are situations where you go I don't know where you come from, but there are certain districts and communities outside Accra where our hotels have been termed as funeral hotels. Why? Because unless there's a funeral in the town, you don't get people walking to the hotel. Such hotels will suffer because the taxes are fixed. Okay, so whether you are getting patronage or not, you pay. So that's why I said.
Okay, and I heard you earlier make references to people who are visiting Ghana. But indeed, one of the things that we face in Ghana, the reason a lot of people won't even holiday in Ghana is because we cannot afford our own hotels. If you're leaving Accra, you wanted a very good hotel in another region, you probably would say that the rates are high. Why? Why can't we patronize our own hotels in our country? Yeah, but box that. I think the other thing I wanted to say, if I walked into a hotel, what would I be paying taxes on exactly?
Okay, it's a lot of things. You see, the hotel industry is heavily regulated, and for very good reasons, because it's a sensitive sector. You come to my hotel, I'm supposed to make sure that you are safe, you are secured, and everything that you do, they make sure that you enjoy your time there. So it's heavily regulated. Now, the system, our legal framework has established various bodies that regulate the industry. So we talk about the Environmental Protection Agency, we talk about Food and Drugs Authority, the Ghana Tourism Authority,
the GRA,
Ghana Fire Service, SNIT. Now, all these bodies, and at the last count, we have 20 or more different payments that we make as a hotel. So if you establish a hotel right now, you are going to be dealing with 20 different people on a monthly, yearly, and sometimes 2 years basis. You have to pay all these things. Now, all these things are factored into the cost of your rooms. Okay, and the challenge we have, we appreciate the fact that it has to be regulated by these organizations. But the challenge we have that sometimes they increase those permit fees without consultation, like my brother said here. Okay, and we had a challenge with EPA about 2 years ago, where where they increased their rates by almost 1,000%.
But Mr. Afunya, back in 2017, just last year, we heard about some reduction in the VAT, some 3% flat reduction. You didn't feel that?
It didn't affect all the hotels, honestly. Some budget hotels enjoyed it, and the other, we call them big boys within the industry, yes. I want to just say something to what Mr. President said earlier on. Sometimes when we are having conferences, and you see cars parked around the places. For example, you might think you see about 50 cars parked within the environment. You might think we are making profit. But for all you know, most of the dignitaries that came with their cars. You're having a conference of about, let's say, 300. And let's say 100 people come with cars. So you might see the place very busy. But at the end of the day, we are not making anything. You understand? In fact, apart from that, these days, most of the charges that come or levies that come, they are charging by rooms. My dear, so definitely as a businessman, what will I do? I'll push it to the, consumer.
So how is that affecting business? Is affecting patronage? Sure. Obviously. Sure. What else is this having an impact on?
Definitely when the rates are high. In fact, in the past, one could travel to the other regions and decide to spend the night. But these days, when you look at the cost of the rate, you decide, when you look compared to your fuel, okay, why don't I come back? Because if I'm going to spend so much, you understand? So all these things, like the President said, affects the inflow of people that are coming to our hotel. Look, when you go on the net, you see so many beautiful things about the country. Ghana is peaceful, Ghana is that. But when they come in and they start spending, wow. So instead of them spending about 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 days, they decide to spend about 2 days and then leave. And you see, this has got linked to revenue. You understand what I'm saying? So
linked with that, Dr. Nyameke, there was a decline, 2.2% last year. We're in October. Do you know if we're worse off this year than we were last year?
Honestly, I haven't checked the figures.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to say anything that.
But with what you have observed so far?
Well, you see, again, like I said earlier, we usually have different feedback from members. In the same month, you have some members saying, this month was wonderful, this month was great. That same month, you have some saying, Nkoyi,
Okay.
it didn't go well after with regards to patronage. But let me add to the point my brother made about you talk about the effect of these higher taxes. You see, the industry requires serious investment, heavy investment. Now that means that you would need extra cash over your expenses to be able to invest back into the business. So you go to Kempinski, Holiday Inn, and all these big places. It's a daily investment thing. The shower is not working, they have to replace it. The table is broken, they have to change it. Okay. And also we require staff of high professional quality, and that calls for training. Now, if you don't have much margins over your inflows, then you are not able to do these things, and then that also affects the level, the standard of the
So
hotel.
what do you want government to do exactly? Because you put your whole theme of this meeting around the tax and the high rates, and you're asking what can government do?
Mama, it's a very simple thing. You see, we have realized that sometimes when you are outside an industry, you think you have enough knowledge about the industry, but that's not the case. When you are in, you understand it better. Now, we have demonstrated to the Ghana Tourism Authority this spider web of regulatory payments and fees. They are beginning to understand and appreciate it. So we are saying that look at it as a big picture. Look at it holistically, so that you set up a system that will ensure that you at EPA, when you are thinking about your rates, you also think about what FDA is doing and think about what fire service is doing. I think the Deputy Minister actually implied that we look at things holistically so that we don't increase some of the rates. Because when you do that, what it means is that the MMDs are also there because we pay business operating permit to them, suitability report, health certificate, and all those property rates. When you do that, then they are also tempted to push it up. EPA started with charging us per room. I think they are shareholders in the industry.
They charge per room?
Per room, yes. Very annoying. Now, the other bodies, Copyright Act, which gives GAMRO and ASOC, or the Visual Rights Society of Ghana, the right to receive royalties.
Because you provide entertainment as well.
Good. Are also trying to follow the steps of EPA. But, well, we are debating those issues.
All right. So, finally, just before following from what the Deputy Minister said, you have to do follow-ups. I would have expected that the Tourism Ministry would be able to help you and lead in the lobbying. What's your response to that? Just real quick before we wrap up.
We've realized that the tourism industry is, have so many responsibilities. I think we will initiate it, and then we will try our best because we are suffering. You understand? Because I'm telling you, some of the most annoying part are duplications of, you see what EPA is doing, AMA environmental agencies are also doing, and then the Rambo approach to our hotels. Just a simple, inspection. You see a whole team coming to your place. All these things are. So in fact, we thank the minister. What we're going to do is that we're going to make a lot of noise. We'll let them know that we are suffering.
Okay.
We are suffering.
Benjamin Afunya is the president of the Greater Accra.
No, chairman.
Oh, chairman.
Please, my president is here.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Chairman, also president of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Aka Nyameke. Thank you very much for your time here on News Desk.